The intelligence report reached Stalin's office in the Kremlin on December 10, 1941, documenting that the Soviet counteroffensive launched on December 5 had driven German forces back from positions around Moscow, and that Wehrmacht units were conducting disorganized retreats under pressure from fresh Soviet divisions attacking along multiple sectors of the front. Joseph Stalin reviewed the assessment with recognition that the strategic gamble to hold Moscow rather than evacuating the government and to launch winter counteroffensive with hastily assembled forces had succeeded in stopping German advance and in inflicting first major territorial defeat on Wehrmacht. The decision to remain in Moscow during the crisis when German forces were within kilometers of the capital and to commit reserves to offensive operations rather than to defensive positions had been criticized as reckless by some advisers, but had proven correct in outcome, if not in risk. The strategic situation in late November had appeared catastrophic. German forces had reached positions where they could see Moscow's buildings through binoculars. The civilians were being evacuated. The government ministries were being relocated to Kuibyshev. The diplomatic corps had departed. The military situation suggested that Moscow might fall within days unless drastic measures were taken. Stalin's decision to remain in the capital and to organize defense rather than to follow the evacuating government had been based on calculation that abandoning Moscow would create panic and that personal presence would stiffen resistance. The gamble had multiple components that each carried significant risk. The decision to hold Moscow required committing forces to defending positions that might be encircled if German forces achieved breakthrough. The decision to bring Siberian divisions from the Far East assumed that Japanese forces would not attack Soviet positions, while attention was focused on the German threat. The decision to launch counteroffensive, rather than passive defense, assumed that German forces were more exhausted and less prepared for winter warfare than Soviet forces. Each assumption could have been wrong, and each wrong assumption could have resulted in catastrophe. Marshal Georgy Zhukov, commanding Western Front defending Moscow, had implemented the defensive strategy that had prevented German capture of the city. The defensive positions had been established in depth with multiple belts of fortifications. The reserves had been positioned to counterattack German penetrations. The civilian population had been mobilized to construct defensive works. The retreating had been conducted in ways that preserved forces rather than allowing them to be encircled. The defense had inflicted heavy casualties on German forces and had consumed German offensive strength without allowing breakthrough. The intelligence about German weaknesses that had informed the decision to launch counteroffensive had come from multiple sources. The reconnaissance reports documented that German forces were not prepared for winter conditions and that soldiers lacked adequate clothing and equipment. The prisoner interrogations revealed low morale and supply shortages. The observation of German positions showed that defensive preparations were minimal because German command had not anticipated needing to defend. The assessment was that German forces were vulnerable to attack by Soviet forces that were equipped and trained for winter warfare. The Siberian divisions that had been transferred from the Far East represented strategic reserve that German intelligence had not detected or had underestimated. The divisions were accustomed to winter conditions and were well trained and well equipped. The transfer had been possible because Soviet intelligence had confirmed that Japan would not attack Soviet positions and would focus on southern expansion against Western colonial possessions. The decision to weaken Far East defenses to reinforce Moscow front had been based on intelligence assessment that proved accurate. The counteroffensive launched on December 5 had struck German positions with forces that included the fresh Siberian divisions, plus hastily reconstituted units that had been formed from stragglers and from new conscripts. The attacks had achieved surprise because German command had assumed that Soviet forces were too weakened to conduct offensive operations. The winter conditions that hampered German forces favored Soviet forces that possessed winter clothing, equipment designed for cold weather, and experience operating in extreme temperatures. General Ivan Konev, commanding Kalinin Front north of Moscow, reported on December 8th that his forces had recaptured Kalinin and had driven German forces back dozens of kilometers. The advance represented first significant Soviet territorial recovery since the invasion began and demonstrated that Red Army could conduct successful offensive operations against Wehrmacht. The propaganda value of retaking Soviet territory was significant for morale and for demonstrating that German advance could be reversed. The German response to the Soviet counteroffensive had been disorganized and had revealed command dysfunction that Soviet intelligence was documenting. Hitler's stand-fast orders forbidding retreats had created situations where German units were being destroyed, attempting to hold positions that could not be defended with available forces. The relief of German commanders who attempted tactical withdrawals indicated that German command structure was prioritizing ideological determination over military necessity. The dysfunction created opportunities for Soviet forces to exploit. Stalin's role in directing the counteroffensive involved detailed oversight of operations and direct communication with front commanders. The Stavka meetings included discussions of specific sectors, allocation of reserves, and approval of operational plans. The hands-on direction reflected Stalin's determination to maintain control and his distrust of military commanders operating with independence. The micromanagement had negative effects on operational flexibility, but ensured that Stalin's strategic priorities were implemented. The political implications of Moscow's successful defense and of the counteroffensive were significant domestically and internationally. The defense demonstrated that Soviet regime could withstand German assault on the capital, and that the population would fight for the system. The counteroffensive showed that Red Army retained offensive capability despite catastrophic losses earlier in the campaign. The international impact was to convince Britain and potentially the United States that Soviet Union would survive and that supporting Soviet war effort was worthwhile investment. The Lend-Lease assistance from the United States that had begun arriving in autumn 1941 had provided trucks, aircraft, and other equipment that supplemented Soviet production. The assistance was not yet arriving in quantities that were decisive, but represented commitment that would grow. The successful defense of Moscow made the case for increasing assistance by demonstrating that Soviet forces could effectively resist German advance. The human cost of defending Moscow and launching the counteroffensive had been enormous. The casualties from the defensive fighting in November had exceeded 100,000. The casualties from the counteroffensive were accumulating rapidly as Soviet forces attacked prepared German positions and as winter conditions created non-combat losses. The willingness to accept casualties on scales that would be unacceptable in Western military traditions reflected Soviet approach to warfare, where victory was pursued regardless of cost. The scorched earth policy that had been implemented during the retreats had denied resources to German forces, but had created hardship for Soviet civilians in affected areas. The destruction of food supplies, the evacuation of livestock, the burning of crops, all had been necessary to prevent German forces from living off the land, but had created famine conditions for populations in occupied or contested territories. The policy reflected prioritization of military objectives over civilian welfare. The partisan warfare in German-occupied territories was beginning to develop into a significant factor that disrupted German logistics and created security problems. The partisan units were being supported by NKVD and by Red Army, and were conducting attacks on supply lines and on isolated German units. The effectiveness was limited in late 1941, but would grow through 1942 and would eventually create serious problems for German occupation forces. Marshal Semyon Timoshenko, commanding Southwest Front, received orders to prepare offensive operations in Ukraine that would extend the counteroffensive beyond the Moscow sector. The concept was to maintain pressure on German forces across the entire front and to prevent German command from concentrating forces to stabilize any particular sector. The risk was that Soviet forces might become overextended and might suffer defeats if German forces conducted effective counterattacks. Stalin's approach was to maintain offensive momentum despite risks. The winter conditions that favored Soviet forces in December would moderate by spring and would create different operational environment. The period when Soviet forces possessed advantages from winter preparedness was limited and needed to be exploited before conditions changed. The strategic calculation was that maximum gains should be pursued during winter months when German forces were most vulnerable. The industrial evacuation that had been conducted during the autumn had successfully relocated factories producing tanks, aircraft, weapons, and ammunition to locations beyond German reach. The production from evacuated facilities was beginning to resume and would provide equipment for forces being mobilized. The evacuation represented massive organizational achievement and demonstrated Soviet capacity for large-scale industrial planning under crisis conditions. The propaganda portraying the Moscow defense emphasized Stalin's leadership and the heroism of Soviet soldiers defending the capital. The narrative that developed portrayed the defense as testament to superiority of Soviet system and as validation of Stalin's leadership. The role of weather, German logistical failures, and German strategic errors were minimized in favor of narrative emphasizing Soviet strength and determination. When Stalin learned his gamble had succeeded, the recognition came through accumulation of reports documenting German retreats, Soviet territorial recoveries, and evidence that Wehrmacht had suffered first major defeat. The initial reports had been cautious because Stalin's response to bad news created incentive for commanders to minimize negative information. The confirmation from multiple sources that the counteroffensive was achieving results created confidence that the success was real rather than exaggerated. The psychological impact on Stalin of the success was to reinforce conviction in his own judgment and to validate the approach of accepting high casualties in pursuit of offensive objectives. The success vindicated the decision to remain in Moscow and to hold the city rather than evacuating. The validation created pattern where Stalin's confidence in his strategic vision would increase and where willingness to override military advice would be reinforced. The strategic assessment that emerged from the Moscow victory was that Soviet Union could survive German invasion and could eventually defeat Wehrmacht through sustained resistance and through offensive operations that exploited German vulnerabilities. The path to victory would require years of fighting and would consume millions of lives, but was achievable if Soviet industrial capacity could be maintained and if Western assistance continued. The December success created opportunity for Stalin to consolidate political control and to use the victory as justification for policies that might otherwise face resistance. The success demonstrated that the system worked and that Stalin's leadership produced results. The narrative that developed around Moscow's defense became central to Soviet identity and to legitimization of Stalin's rule. The German failure at Moscow and the Soviet counteroffensive represented turning point where the assumption that Germany would win quickly on the Eastern Front was disproven. The Wehrmacht, that had seemed unstoppable through summer and autumn, had been stopped and pushed back by Soviet forces that had been dismissed as inferior. The strategic balance had shifted from question of whether Soviet Union would survive to question of how long Germany could sustain war against enemy whose resources and determination exceeded German capacity to overcome. The gamble that Stalin had taken in holding Moscow and launching counteroffensive had succeeded, but had succeeded partly through factors beyond Stalin's control. The German logistical failures, inadequate preparation for winter warfare, and command decisions prioritizing ideological objectives over military necessity all contributed to creating conditions where Soviet counteroffensive could succeed. When Stalin learned his gamble had succeeded in December 1941, he recognized that the strategic situation had fundamentally changed, that Soviet Union had survived the most dangerous phase of German invasion, that Red Army could conduct successful offensive operations, and that the path to eventual victory was possible even if distant. The success at Moscow established patterns that would characterize Soviet strategy through the war's remainder, where offensive operations would be pursued aggressively, where casualties would be accepted at rates that Western allies found shocking, and where Stalin's personal direction of military operations would be validated by results that were achieved despite the costs. The December counteroffensive would continue through winter and into spring with mixed results. Some sectors would achieve significant advances, while others would suffer defeats when Soviet forces became overextended. But the fundamental achievement remained that Moscow had been held, German forces had been driven back from the capital, and Wehrmacht had suffered first major territorial defeat, demonstrating German vulnerability and encouraging continued Soviet resistance.